What's up YouTube, Kristo here, and I've got a video for you as I promised. This is going to be a companion to my top 10 niche fragrance houses. Just to kind of explain what that is, basically I'm going to go through and just kind of talk about how my list this time differs from my list before. What's gone up, what's gone down, what's new, kind of give a few little explanations here and there. It's actually something I've wanted to do for quite a long time, but not really kind of actually gone through with it until now, which is unfortunate because I'm kind of weeding top 10 lists off my channel. It's just something that, as someone who myself does enjoy watching top 10 lists, like real genuine top 10 lists that have, thought and effort put into them, I do often wonder, like, what happened to this house before? Why don't you like it anymore? Why is this new house better? In, your opinion, my opinion, whatever. So I'm going to kind of go through that and just go through and just talk about some houses that I used to really enjoy that were on my list that didn't make it, and some new ones that kind of took some out of the running, just kind of like that. So it's going to be my top 10 niche fragrance houses companion. Now, just for a frame of reference, my first top 10 niche fragrance houses was done on August 15th, 2013. So nearly 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago actually. But yeah, it just kind of goes to show how much taste changes, based on what you're exposed to, how much you actually test and sniff and try and go through that. And, I have no problem admitting that stuff that I used to like just as recent as 3 years ago, today I'm not really interested anymore. I think it's kind of a natural progression in pretty much any hobby to become more just fussier, just have higher standards, be pickier about what you buy, use, wear, whatever it is, depending on your hobby, of course. So first thing I'm going to do really quickly, I'm going to go through my top 10 list from 2013 and from last, just like a month ago or so. So August 15, 2013, it was all shot in one video straight through. My number 10 was Montal, 9 was Creed, number 8 was L'Artisan Parfumeur, number 7 Tom Ford Private Blend, 6 Nasomato, 5 Kerosene, 4 Maison Francis Courdienne, 3 Le Labo, number 2 Serge Lutens, and number 1 Comme des Garçons. So my top 10 list updated just from about a month ago, 2016, September, October 2016. Number 10 was L'Artisan Parfumeur, 9 Amouage, 8 Etat Libre d'Orange, 7 Maison Francis Courdienne, 6 Chanel Les Exclusives, 5 Serge Lutens, 4 Hermès, 3 Frederic Malle, 2 Guerlain, and number 1 Comme des Garçons. So the first thing I'm going to do is just kind of go through and compare and talk about, what went where, and, what went up, what went down, what made it new to the list, etc. So totally off the chart, that didn't even make the top 10 list that was in 2013. Montal, I've just totally gone off this house. I actually talked about them in 5 niche houses I'm done with, and today when I sniffed this, 3 years ago it was my number 10, that's pretty big for like a perfume lover. Today I wouldn't even put it in my top 50. I find it a very amateur, cheap, synthetic house, and I don't like to use the word synthetic to mean low quality, but they definitely are not using natural ingredients there. At retail I find them just to be totally not worth it. To me, they're kind of like body sprays, but with like super high potency. They're just made basically in a lab. No perfumers, no high quality research. They're turning them out like that. It's just not a high quality brand. I think, and no offense to anyone who loves Montal, because I know there's quite a legion of fans out there. But to me, I think to a more novice nose, they do come off as pretty outrageous and really potent, which is something that a lot of people want. But after having gone through so many houses and so many fragrances, that's not what I'm into. I want high quality. I don't really care about potency. I don't care about how loud or strange the notes are. I want it to be well made, well crafted. That's the biggie for me. Creed also made my list. 5 niche houses I'm done with. I have to say though, Creed, I definitely think of those fragrances that made my fragrance houses I'm done with. That one I do enjoy more fragrances from than anything else. I just think at retail price, with like the kind of Aventus hysteria that's going on, or it's kind of toning down a bit now, but the house just holds very little of my interest. There's definitely a few fragrances that I would like, and a few newer ones that I am interested in, but for the most part, I just kind of wash my hands of it. You used to be able to get 120 ml Creed testers in Indonesia for like $80. You could get the 120 ml new in box for like 100, maybe 120, depending on which one it was. So for me to pay 300, 400 Canadian dollars, it's like, no way, I'm not even gonna look at them. Tom Ford Private Blends, another one that made my fragrances I'm done with, niche fragrances, niche houses I'm done with. Although I have to say the new line, the Bois line, there's a few in there that I like, but it's still just really not enough to salvage what has happened to the house. Just profit and mass marketing have just obliterated the private blends, in my opinion. It's just, a frail relic of what it used to be. I think they're putting out a lot of junk that's meant to attract in like the Sephora crowd, which seems to be the kind of market that they're going towards. They're upping their prices and making them look like the super exclusive niche fragrance brand, but they're not really. Again, most likely Tom Ford Private Blends are just made in a laboratory by people who are paid a lot of money just to like make something that smells good. There's no high quality perfumers here. There's no master craftsmanship. It's just lab made junk, basically. NASA Motto, this is an interesting one. I kind of had a really short love affair with this house around the time I made this list, and now it's just totally off my radar. I can't say I'm not interested in them, but I've kind of been there, done that. They're not really doing much new. They have released a few fragrances recently, but neither of them, for the men's line or the unisex line at least, they don't hold my interest in the slightest bit. I still do enjoy Pardon. I have to say I still do enjoy Black Afghano as well. Absinthe is good. Hindu Grass, it's okay, but it's just kind of like I can't really put a fragrance house that has like 2 great fragrances and like 2 more good fragrances in my top 10 list. Kerosene, today, by my standards now, having much more knowledge and experience and expertise, if you will, I wouldn't even consider it a niche house. I definitely consider it an indie house, in that Kerosene makes his own fragrance and he is not a classically trained perfumer. As well, I just haven't tried like any of the last 5 or 6 fragrances that have come out from his line. Kind of Fields of Rubus, which I love, is basically the last thing I've really tried from the house. So both kind of like my circumstances and standards kept it out as well. I've just not tried anything new from his house anymore. Le Labo, it's kind of like the rich man's Montal. To me, they're just really lacking personality. They're lacking depth. It's kind of like the same base notes with just a couple top notes changed. It doesn't hold my interest anymore. I find too many of the fragrances to be very repetitive, very uninteresting, just completely lacking heart and soul, anything like that. Now move down, fragrance houses that made my list this time and last time. L'Artisan, moved down from number 8 to number 10 this time. I still think there's some really great scents from this house. They have a massive range. There's still plenty that I have not tried, and there's new that I've tried that I really enjoy. Just not enough to keep it in the 8th place. Only moved a couple spaces, but it did move down a bit. MFK, Maison Francis Courdienne. I definitely think the Oud Mood series has kind of helped it, but there were some pretty mediocre things in between that and like the classic lineup that really didn't interest me much. Still a great house and I think totally reputable, but I think unfortunately there were a few mediocre fragrances in the middle era there that didn't really interest me enough to keep it, at least 4 or higher. Serge Lutens went from number 2 to number 5. And if you would have asked me just a year ago, I probably would have been surprised about that. I love Serge Lutens, but just the more I try the new fragrances, they just seem to be getting more and more uninteresting to me. There's still some fantastic fragrances, and number 4, for someone who has extensive experience with dozens, if not hundreds, of niche fragrance houses, I think it's still pretty reputable considering what beat it in my first 3 slots. What moved up? What was in my list before that raised or went up in spots? None. Nothing moved up. But that said, there are quite a few new fragrances on the list, new houses on the list. Amouage, which I even mentioned, if I would have done this video maybe a year or even 2 years ago, probably would have placed a lot higher than 9. I probably would have put it 4, 5, 6 era. État Libre d'Orange, and I did have experience with État Libre d'Orange when I did this list last time, but I didn't have very much, and since then I've tried a lot. I've probably tried 20 or 30 new things from the house. A lot of them I think are really good. Came in at 8th, which is pretty respectable again, but I think there are a few duds in there, or a few things that are just too out there for me. The Chanel Lace exclusives, lots of talk about this recently with the reconcentrations. And again, it comes in at number 6. That's pretty good for an entry-level position. My thing with Chanel, and I kind of mentioned this, is just I find too many of them to be too repetitive, but just to come in straight into number 6, I think that's pretty good, and in 3 years as well. And the rest of the 3, these were all in my top 5, so there were 3 new fragrance houses in my top 5, Hermès, Hermessens, Frederic Malle, and Guerlain, all 3 which are, in my top 5 fragrance houses. I love them. I think they all have a wide array of excellent choices, excellent fragrances, high quality craftsmanship, just the best perfumers in the world using, excellent quality ingredients. And I think that's kind of what pushed a few things off my chart, as I am more discerning with quality and craftsmanship now. And number 1, Comme des Garçons. It's in number 1, and that's kind of the reason I'm going to stop. This list will be my last one. Maybe 5-10 years from now check in, but Comme des Garçons is not going anywhere. I think Guerlain, Serge Lutens, Hermessens, Chanel, Frederic Malle, I think they're all pretty well cemented in my top 10 list. A few towards the top may drop out, but for the most part, I think more than half of these are pretty much solidly placed, pretty much for good. When you're going to look at something like Guerlain, Frederic Malle getting bumped out of a top 10 list, I just don't think it's really going to happen. There's certainly nothing really out there that exists today that can compete with them in the niche or exclusive world. So there you go. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I've really wanted to do this for a while, not necessarily just with this, but just in general, doing a companion, just kind of talk about where things went, how they moved up and down, in and out, etc., etc. Hopefully you enjoy that. Stay tuned for some fall fragrance favorites. I've got a lot of those that I really, really want to talk about. Guess that's all, so take care, and I'll see you again soon.